Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on board here. We'll
You're
speak
welcome.
um, a sound weaving exploration, a sound weaving group, a sound weaving as a group, weaving sound as a group, which is like a follow-up to the little conversation that we had about sound weaving as an experience that can be had online when Heather and I weave sound, or that can be had as in a group with us weaving and co-creating, and also a one-to-one where I co-create a sound vibrational field for a particular focus of transformation and change. So this is really something that occurred. It was an impulse that I had in January 2016, where I felt like, I think we need to do a study of what is possible to achieve with sound weaving when we do it in different settings, in different ways. Because there had been so many amazing stories of feedback and change from different people that I thought, let's actually create a little study of different ways of doing it. And I put out this request, like, who would like to take part in this study? And there were different options. And one of the options was to create a group and actually practice and learn sound weaving to sound weave as a group and create sound vibrational fields as a group. And you were one of the people who was like, yes, that's exactly what I would like to do. You just jumped in on this. So I'd love you to speak a little bit about what inspired you to say, yes, I'd love to explore this. I'd love to do this, before we go into the experience of what the group was.
Yeah. Well, I read all the way through your invitation, and it was just an immediate yes, that I want to do this. As to what inspired that, I'd already been working with sound in different ways, and was already experiencing the power of it. And I had already experienced some of your sound weaving, and had been through the process of making a bowl at that point as well. So it just
another subject,
and a whole other subject. There wasn't any question. So I think we've called it an energetic match before, and I think that's what it was really, because it wasn't there wasn't really any reasoning behind it. It was just like, oh yes, okay, let's do it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And then you went ahead and just got a group together. And some of those people had been working with us, either had experienced a sound weaving when Heather and I came to Suffolk and did public sound weaving.
Yeah.
That some of the people had experienced, most of them, not all of them, or they had actually made a singing bowl with us.
Or they hadn't had any contact with you before at all.
Some of them hadn't, which is fantastic. So it was a really mixed group.
Yeah.
And then you invited me to come down and just do a little introduction and a training day to set you up, to start using sound weaving as a group. And what we started with was literally just learning to tune ourselves, to use sound to tune us and our bodies and then the group. And so, yeah, can you speak a little bit about what it was like to use that tool of sound weaving as the group?
Yes. Well, the before we even got to sound weaving as a group, there was that whole process of tuning ourselves and the group coherence, which, shall I talk some about that?
Yeah, if that's what inspires you, yes.
Because it was actually an incredible, well, it still is. It's an incredible experience. The humming of ourselves as individuals into an attuned state, we all found to be incredibly transforming. It was as if just spending that, hour a week together, practicing humming ourselves individually into attunement, spread out into our whole lives, and it was the same for all of us. Things started showing up in our lives that maybe weren't, really in coherence, or that were pulling us out of coherence, and it gave all of us an opportunity to really look at things, and look at how we were operating, or what things were showing up in our lives, and we all had that experience, and we all, without doubt, put it down to the work that we were doing in the group around individual coherence.
Yeah, it's really interesting that, because that's like a law of resonance, isn't it? That when we create the resonant field of coherence and we say, this is what we're aiming towards, what shows up and is what is not in coherence, so that it can come into our consciousness and our awareness, and we can choose to change it.
Yes.
So we create a field of coherence through the sounding, through the humming, and what shows up is we create more coherence in our lives, and those bits that are not matching that coherence, they go, here, look at me. I need to be receiving some attention. So
yes.
So that's what you're describing, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think also another effect of it, even with that first stage, was that because we were opening our awareness more and more to vibration, that we all experienced a much greater connection with the natural world, with nature. And I would say that all of us would have said that we were pretty well connected anyway. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But it really increased that level of giving and receiving with nature, of just being of communion with nature. So that was a really beautiful aspect to it. And
it's gorgeous, because what my sense is at this time on the earth is that our way forward for our culture, really, to make the changes that we need to change, is that we actually are required to be more in communion with nature, required to be more in communion with the earth, and from that place make choices and decisions and listen to what is mine to do, what is my action, what is my contribution. So to actually have that as a so-called side effect of creating coherence through the sound was such an immense gift I'm so grateful for to have experienced, wow, that actually is the case, that we can do the sound weaving, and through creating coherence, we actually automatically connect more deeply with nature and the earth and the planet, the earth. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Yeah.
And then what we did was, we'd spend the first part of our gathering tuning ourselves individually, and then we'd step into what we called a coherence weaving, where each of us, as that attuned, or whatever level of attunement we'd got to at that particular point, that strand of consciousness, or that one string of the instrument, we then all came together and practiced sounding together, and still we were just using our voices to build the field of the group. Because we were aiming towards this experiment of, actually, can this group of people come together and
become a coherent whole? Yes, function as a coherent instrument.
Yeah. So the process of the group coherence was also fascinating, and I would say for all of us, quite deeply revealing, and with huge potential for transformation, because it was about the whole balancing act of maintaining integrity, maintaining the integrity of that string of the instrument that each of us was, whilst the group process was happening, of that field of group coherence coming into being, and allowing and trusting that it would come into coherence, and finding that it's like a dance, really, of all of those channels, all of those clear channels, kind of, listening and responding and expanding in awareness, and gradually coming into a coherent state, or a level of coherence.
And it's like what you're describing is so beautiful, because that's like when I perceived the potential of what that could be, is like, when I tune my instrument, and then my instrument becomes a string on a larger instrument, then we have a much larger instrument with which we can create a much larger, even, vibrational field that ripples out. And it also reflects, it reflects for us, how can I hold my true vibration within the society, within a group, within the world? How do I express me and my truth and my voice and my vibration, not lose that, but also be the greatest contribution to that greater field? And that's the practice, and that's an amazing practice for anyone wanting to really sound and be and vibrate their truth and who they really are at their core, and be the contribution they can truly be in the wider field, in society, in a group, in their job, in their whatever. So this is another side effect of this practice of how can we as individuals be totally ourselves, and at the same time bring our greatest contribution and become part of an instrument that's larger
Yes.
than me.
Yes. Because it was encouraging us to develop specific skills.
Yeah.
So, you know, receptivity and expansion of awareness and listening and
tracking energy
in terms of definitely being that as clear as possible channel, that string of the instrument, that strand of consciousness at the same time as being aware of what else was happening, and dancing the dance of knowing what's your own stuff and what's coming through, all of that happening together, and being aware of that happening, and yet the coherence, the would come in, and it was an energetic knowing. So we had all of that sort of quite explicit practice, that we knew we were practicing those things, but every time, every session, when we went into the coherence weaving, there would just be that moment when we knew that the coherence, that a level of coherence had been reached, and it was an energetic knowing.
Yeah, beautiful. And then, you know, we built that muscle. We built over several months.
Yes.
So
that just practiced that. Yeah.
Just practicing that before we did anything else, like introduce the instruments or even create an intention of what else can we create a vibrational field for that would ripple out into the wider world, which we then went on to do with step by step.
Yes.
I don't think this is the place to go into each of those steps.
No.
But just to do a little review for you of, you know, 18 months later, having done this group experience of working with coherence and with sound weaving for 18 months, looking back, what do you sense that this group contributed to you? What has it changed in your life? What do you sense you've gained from it?
Wow. Where to start, really? Well, I've had experiences of experiencing myself as a vibrational being. So, you know, I've known for years that intellectually that everything is vibration.
Yeah.
To actually have moments of experiencing myself as vibration.
Beautiful.
Within the universal vibration.
Wow.
Has been, I mean, that would be a kind of highlights, should we say?
Wow. Wow. And how has that affected your life?
Well, well, I suppose it's like with that kind of experience, what, you know, it's so far it's not maintainable all 24/7. So for me, it's a question of remembering. So remembering that, and then, I mean, the way that I am is that I go into a sort of investigation of it. So,
is it like a pointer of, wow, this is how my life could be? If I can maintain this all the time, I could. Or what is it? It's giving.
There's almost an interim stage, which is what does this experience give me in terms of understanding how things work. That's the way that's the way I go with it quite often. So, you know, if I'm this vibratory being, that everything around me is also vibratory beings, and we're all part of one whole. So, you know, how do all of those things interact? And so the question of coherence comes in again, that, you know, we're an allowance, that we're allowing or being aware of all the different things that are vibrating in different ways, and how to maintain our integrity within that, our center within that, without putting down barriers and boundaries. So that the whole investigation of how different vibrations interact with each other.
Beautiful, yeah.
So that's where that's taken me on that level.
What else would you
and an awareness actually of the for me personally, the benefit and the importance for me and my well-being and my feelings of functioning well and functioning effectively, and as the greatest contribution that I can be in the universe, of kind of working to maintain that vibration, you know. So that's quite exciting stuff.
Beautiful. What else would you describe has changed, or has the group sound, having that group of regular sound weaving each week, how has that contributed? How else has that contributed to your life?
Well, I mean, it's on a very practical relationship level. It's been fabulous for all of us that we've had this group that we've regularly met, and pretty much we've met every week. Maybe not all of us, every week, but the group has met pretty much every week for over 18 months, and it's been a very nurturing and supportive group of people, without having gone into the realms of being a talking group. We don't come together and kind of have a great long chat about everything that's been going on for all of us. And in fact, we had this moment of realization quite a few months in, that actually we knew very little about each other at all.
It's wonderful, isn't it, that the sound is the connecting factor, and you vibrationally meet, and you become this support group vibrationally, without having to have the stories and the chat. Yes. Amazing, which is a total different level of a support group. It was,
and we all noticed it and exclaimed on it, how refreshing it is, and how different it is to very many other groups that get together.
Yeah.
And if necessary, if the support is there, and if necessary, if somebody needs to actually vocalize what's going on for them, then that possibility is there, but it's not a focus of the group at all.
That's great. So in a way, what you've described so far is that it's what you've received as a vibrational reality that you sense that you could be functioning in all the time, and if you were, your level of contribution of what you feel that you could contribute to the
Mm.
earth and to the world, and as would has already increased.
Yes.
And then the other was the community aspect.
Yes. Very much so.
So
Yeah.
are there a couple of other aspects that you could name that occurred through having this group in your life?
Yes, it's a couple of some of those skills that I mentioned earlier. So, receptivity and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
the impact on those. I mean, I'm calling them skills for want of a better word, but
Yeah.
it came into me very clearly, probably 2 years ago, that what was going to be beneficial for me was to be receptive. And then the group and the processes that we've been through have totally given me expanded opportunity to develop that receptivity.
Receptivity.
That's been great. And the tracking of energy and awareness are really invaluable skills to develop. And this process has, I mean, my feeling is that it does it by default. If we maintain the intention of what we're doing in terms of the sound work, then those skills develop.
And what, just for anybody who doesn't know what tracking of energy could mean, it's like if we learn the tracking of energy, it's like if you, like, we're asking a question about, oh, what would be the greatest thing for me to do if you have a choice, for example, would I like to choose this or that? And you just ask, what has the greatest energy? And you get like, ooh, if you learn to read the energy, you get an energetic read of, this is a real contribution to me, while this is totally not. So you actually live your life from a different place.
Yes.
Asking, what would be the greatest energetic contribution? What would create more if I choose this? And if I choose that, actually, it takes away energy.
Yes.
So you get a skill that is invaluable to live life on a totally different level, from a place of not the head, oh, I should be doing this because blah, 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 because somebody says blah, blah, blah. But you're asking, what is the energy of it? And
yes.
sense the energy of it, and you go with the energy of it, and something totally different is possible then. If you're going with the energy, it supports you and something else occurs.
Yes.
Something else happens. So it's an invaluable life skill. So it's awesome that it's part of this sound by default.
Yes. And another thing actually that I'll mention that's just popped up into my mind that I feel is really hugely beneficial in the same way, actually, in terms of managing the day-to-day life that we're all living and the stuff that we're bombarded with, is that in the process that we went through, we mentioned we went through many steps once we started practicing the actual group sound weaving, but one of the things we did was go through a process of tracking energy to find out what we wanted to have as a focus or an intention for our sound weaving each week. And we stuck with that for a while. And then we moved on to, we actually let that go and just moved into being, what energy, space and consciousness, what vibrational frequency can we be that's the greatest contribution in the moment. And what what I have found is that even though previously I think with my yoga practice, I was fairly good at not getting dragged down by things happening in the world, this actually gave a very tangible alternative way of being with all the stuff that's happening in the world, in terms of, creating those fields of vibrational fields of possibility, of possibility beyond our imagination was a phrase that I remember you using. So that instead of thinking, oh, this is happening and this is happening and this is terrible and what are we going to do about it, we just kind of accept, yeah, all of this is happening. Let's stay up here and actually strengthen this field of possibility beyond imagination that has the potential to lift all the other stuff. And I mean, I employ that a lot. There's no denying that the stuff that we see, on the news, on the computer and all the rest of it is just horrendous beyond description. But instead of getting depressed by it, I will think, well, okay, I'm gonna go and make some sounds
and create something that can contribute to change there.
Yes. And just lift up from that. That's another
really, really cool. Wow.
Really lovely thing that's come with it.
Yeah. Beautiful, Louise. I'm sensing that we'll probably wrap up at this point.
Yes,
not too long. But what we just in our last gathering with the group, what we came to was that everyone in the group has said how valuable this has been and how transformative, how huge it has been in their lives. And we thought, wow, should we make this available to more people to actually teach this? And so we are actually looking at making it into a course that we could teach, that we could make available to more people, so that these skills can be developed and be available as life skills that that can be applied at this time when actually we are knocked out of coherence all the time through everything that goes on in the news, and we get disconnected from nature all the time, and we could get disconnected from ourselves, our own vibration. So to have that as a skill and as a tool to bring us back into our own vibration, to bring us into how can we, as our vibration, maintain our vibration and be a contribution that resonates and contributes to the whole and allows the whole to lift up, and the added bonus of the learning to track and sense and follow energy. So we thought that would be such a contribution to our society at this time. Whoever would like to learn more about it. So if you do wish to learn more about it, just get in touch with us, and we're working on creating a course program. Cool. Wow. Thank you so much, Louise. And
welcome.
And blessings to anyone who's watching this at a later stage. Wonderful. Thank you. And let's see what we can co-create.
Yes.
Yay. Awesome.